glazed than anything else, I wanted to leave you with a couple tips as you bake or roast your ham as you normally would. My oven is preheating to 325 degrees Fahrenheit, but the couple tips I want to leave with you here is one, I've lined the baking tray that I'll be using with foil because later on it will get pretty messy once we start glazing. Yeah, it's all about the glaze, so it will get messy, it will get sticky, and to help it clean up later on, you really want to line it or you'll be scrubbing. The second tip is use a wire rack if you can, because what I'm going to do is my ham is already prepped here, and I'm going to sit it on that rack, and as it roasts, we're going to get that heat going all around here, but we're also going to get the heat going from the bottom. So rather than sitting in a pool of fat or getting overcooked by sitting directly onto the pan in the oven, I want it on that wire rack. Here's the thing. The third sort of tip is try to put the rack in the oven, not the pan, the rack, the baking rack itself, so there's even space above the ham and below the ham. So in my case here, I have two racks in the oven. I'm going to remove one, drop one down a little bit lower, and so we have even height from the top to the bottom and around kind of thing, you know what I mean? Into the oven now, 325, and I'll show you how to prep that glaze. The glaze: apple juice, 2 small apples which I'm going to peel, core, and dice, some Dijon mustard, some dried orange peel. If you don't have dried orange peel, you can use the zest of an orange, the juice of a lemon just to have balance. We need the acid to balance things off. I've got some dark maple syrup, pure maple syrup. We've got cane sugar. If you want to use packed brown sugar, you can certainly use that. We'll need a pinch of sea salt. In my saucepan, I'm going to go in with that sugar. The apples have been diced up, and I've had the lemon juice in there because that's going to help the apples not discolor. So it's serving two purposes. We're not going to discolor the apple while we have it sitting there. Plus, the acidity would help bring balance to everything. Time for that maple syrup, the Dijon mustard. And to give it a little bit of a kick, I've got some dry mustard. I'm just gonna shake that in there a bit. The dried orange peel, I'm just gonna break it up like so. That pinch of salt. And of course, to amplify that apple flavor, we've got that apple juice. Just gonna stir that in. Then we're going to turn on the stove, we're going to bring it up to a boil, then we're going to reduce it to a simmer and let this cook down until it's nice and thick and it forms that glaze that we're going to put onto the ham. Later on we'll be able to fish out, well, we're not necessarily going to eat the orange peel, but that's going to soften up and add a nice orange citrus flavor to everything here. Now if you wanted to slam in a piece of ginger or some grated ginger, you can rock that. It came up to a boil, I reduced it to a simmer, and that is what's happening here. We want that apple to break down and join the festivities happening in the pot there. So it will take a few minutes. You know, earlier there I mentioned ginger. The other thing, if you wanted to put in here, well, 2 other ingredients. One is honey. If you have your favorite honey and you want to put some honey in there, excuse me, you can certainly do that. And the other thing is some ground cinnamon, because you will notice the apples, the orange, all those flavors complements cinnamon as well. So cinnamon, ginger, all those things. And again, it's all about Christmas. It's all about the flavors and scent and everything else of Christmas. So yeah, if you want to add a little bit of ground cinnamon in there, you can certainly do that. It's been 25 minutes. It's reduced considerably. So what I'm going to do now is strain it. I've got all the flavor out of the apples there. If you used a baking apple, it will melt down on you. It will disintegrate in there. But the apple I used here is just, I think it was a Fuji or something. Anyhow, I'm going to strain it, and then we're going to get all that lovely glaze. So there we go. It's all strained, and we've got a beautiful glaze just waiting to be used. So The last half hour before you completely shut off your oven is when you're going to start applying the glaze to it, and I'm just using a brush and allowing it to sort of seep down into all of those crevices that I created there. And I'm going to do this about 3 times during the last half hour. Sup soldiers, listen, if you enjoy this recipe, I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and click that bell notification thing. If you've made the recipe, take a picture and send it to me, email address down here. I mean, trying to tell people the email address, them butts will take the address and do all kind of thing with it. And tag me on Instagram at Caribbean Pod. I really appreciate you guys, and thanks for being in my kitchen with me today. Irie. And this is what 3 layers of that glaze looks like on the ham. Chris here, CaribbeanPod.com. Always a pleasure having you guys here in the kitchen with me. Let's give you a little spin on the other side there. This side is more fatty. But yeah, apple, brown sugar, glazed ham.